Welcome to this thing called life.
What's up, everybody?
What's going on, Mang?
How are you?
Good morning, fellas.
So, we got a bunch on tap today. But first, like always, we're going to start it off with our classic dad jokes. Michael, what do you got for it?
God, here we go. Ready? Are you guys ready for this dad joke?
Listening.
I tried to find the worst one I could find. All right, here we go. Did you hear about the restaurant on the moon?
I did not.
Great food, no atmosphere.
Ah, snap. Doo-doo.
The worst one I could find.
I'm going to have to top that one. Even more worse. Worser, if you will. Anyways, how was your week, Michael?
Dude, it was good. Worked my ass off. I've been dealing with a lot of pain. You know, as a dad, sometimes you wake up with aches and pains, and I have a lot of tension in the back of my neck.
Dude, I can relate to this right now because I went back to work this past week. I went back to work Thursday, and being home the whole month with my son, and then going back to work, like Friday, I started feeling a pain in my wrist. And I haven't been used to I've been picking up my son and putting him down, obviously, but, the boxes wise and everything like that, and heavy boxes, dude, like, I was like, oh, man, I did something to my wrist, and it's, I've been putting some of that CBD balm on it, though.
That CBD works, huh?
Yeah, dude, it feels much better today.
But yeah, man, I know up north you guys have some crazy weather right now. It's freaking cold up there, I'm sure. Out here it's like almost 70 degrees.
Dude,
right now.
It's actually warming up now. That polar vortex is finally gone by. It's like 30. It's supposed to be 50 tomorrow, and then supposed to get to 60 on Tuesday. Global warming. What?
Bro, what is that movie where everything freezes with Dennis Quaid? What is that movie?
What, The Day After Tomorrow?
That was Chicago last week. Like,
Yeah, it was everywhere up north, bro. It was ridiculous.
So anyway, what we
anyways.
have on tap today
Yes.
is an awesome interview with my good buddy Joey Lee Cabral, who is an artist here in El Paso, Texas, and he travels all over the place, selling and creating amazing pieces of artwork, things that have inspired me personally and in my career. And it's been a pleasure to know the guy, and I'm glad we have him on this podcast today. We also have two other topics we'll cover, and one is the movie A Star Is Born, because it's made a lot of, buzz on social media, people talking about it, and I figured we'd go ahead and talk all the way about it instead of just saying, "Hey, it was a good movie." Let's go ahead and elaborate a little bit on the movie, and also we're going to talk about cultural beliefs, things we were raised believing that may be true or maybe they're not true.
Yeah, we're really gonna break down that movie.
Yes.
Like,
So, without further ado, my friends, Mr. Joey Lee Cabral. What's up, Joey?
Oh my God, he's here.
Yeah.
How's it going, guys?
Oh,
Man, the crowd's loving it.
Anyways,
So what's up, man?
yeah, how's it going?
Pretty good. Thank you guys for inviting us,
Hey, man,
or me.
glad to have you on.
Who else is with you?
All my personalities.
Split? That was a good movie. Okay, Joey. Well, I have my first question for you is
Hit it up.
tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from.
So let's see. From El Paso, I was born in California. Sorry. Let's see. Where do I start? I don't even know. Do you want my whole life?
Well, tell us the important things of your background. Like, you're born in California. Since I've known you in El Paso, that's all I've known you from. I met you. A little background on how I met Joey was through church, I believe, right? We were going to Life Church, and I think you were doing artwork for a sermon for the pastor there. And I was like, yo, this guy is like legit. And obviously, like, I need to know this guy because I love art. And I noticed his style was very almost, it made me feel like I was seeing kind of like a comic graphic novel-ish feel. So I obviously had to ask him like what he does, what he's into. And sure enough, it was like, wow, this guy does comic book art. This guy's like legit.
All right. So I'll do the quick run through my whole life then.
Yeah.
In 5 minutes.
Start with
5 seconds or less.
Start with 1 year old.
1 years old. I realized I was going to be an artist. So I was born in California. My dad's a pastor, and my mom obviously a pastor's wife. We moved out here when I was about 12. In high school, I met my now wife. So we're going on 18 years together. We have a daughter that's 7. The last 3 years, I've been a full-time illustrator, and that's been an incredible journey. And especially being able to, work from home and really be more a part of my daughter's life has been a great, blessing for that.
So when you say illustrator, what exactly? I'm sorry, just
Yeah, so I was just thinking about this the other day. So when people ask me what I do, I tell them I'm a sequential illustrator, which would be the politically correct version of saying janitor to custodial arts. It's just artist. I do art primarily in comic book superhero artwork. Sequential illustrating is just telling stories through comic book panels.
gotcha. So have you actually done any like artwork for any comic writers or anything like that?
Yeah, so I've been working with a couple of different publishers. One of them is Quran. That's been my work, my primary work for the last 3 years. And I've also been working with another independent writer. That work has been out through Amazon. And then aside from that, I've done some just like inking jobs for another illustrator.
That's sweet. So like, do you go to the Comic Cons and like sell your artwork there too, and like do you do all that stuff?
Yeah, so I traveled to Phoenix, Salt Lake, Tucson, Albuquerque, San Antonio, anywhere I can get a flight to.
awesome.
I'll hit the show up and try to get my stuff going there.
That's awesome.
So, dude, I know you a little bit, but I've never even asked you this question. But what does your work mean to you, and what are you trying to say through it whenever you're taking on either drawing out of passion or drawing out of maybe your profession? What are you trying to say through your work? What's your mission?
So usually when I watercolor something, my approach is always the same way I tell people to when they ask me like, "Oh, how did you draw that?" or how do I get kind of to the finished product that you're producing? And what I usually do is I try to make a mess on the paper and tighten things up as I go, so that the person that's looking at it has like a replay value. So if I drew something, let's just say it's Batman, I can draw him straightforward comic book style, and you can look at it and appreciate it once. My approach is put it all down there, splatter, smudge marks, grayscales in the inks, and so that when you're looking at it, you notice a little bit more and more. Recently, I did a commission where Batman's standing over Joker, and there's a puddle on the floor. That puddle has his reflection, but it looks just like the bat signal. And so I wanted to someone see that and they say like, "Oh, that's Batman beating up Joker. That's pretty dope." And then, looking at it again, you see the reflection of Batman, more cartoonish, more of the animated series that we grew up with. And so there's a throwback to people that are our age.
That's cool.
That's awesome. So I'm just curious, how long does it take you to make one of these pieces of art?
Well, I would say my process is pretty quick. If you guys look at my Instagram, usually I do headshots. Those are about an hour to 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Every piece has what I consider like a session of time in it. So originally or off the bat, I'll draw it, I'll ink it, throw everything down on the black lines, and then I'll add the watercolor, and that's pretty much your first wash. So a piece can be done at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll go back and then I'll add, second layers, more values, and then another layer of just highlights to kind of flesh out some of the stuff that I'm trying to bring out.
That's sick.
Yeah. So Joey, what is your favorite character to draw then?
It would definitely be Hellboy. That's a reflection of my life.
What did you think about the Hellboy movies as opposed to the comic?
Yeah, I loved it. I think that the embodiment of what's the director's name?
I think it's Guillermo del Toro, right?
Yeah,
Is that
I didn't want to get confused with the
Yeah.
actor.
It's Guillermo. Yeah.
Yeah. I think his vision, if you look at the movies that he's done, I don't know if you've seen Pan's Labyrinth.
I've seen all his movies. I love him.
It's awesome, right?
Mhm.
That's a director that fully embodied what Hellboy's essence was. And so this new movie, I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer. I'm not excited about it, but I'm hoping that it's more on the people trying to sell the movie, trying to pitch the movie to the mass audience are overhyping it in the sense of like it's going to be very funny, super colorful and all that other stuff. Hopefully, the director still has his heart in that project.
Right. Overly maybe too much comedy.
Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. Dude, I fell in love with Joey's artwork so much that one day he drew me a Deadpool, and I actually took the Deadpool and I put it on someone's hair. So I did a hair design of Deadpool based off of Joey's drawing of Deadpool. And it was crazy because it went viral. And, I tagged Joey in it and stuff like that. And hopefully brought him some love that way. But man, a lot of people were just very like, wow, like I've never seen a Deadpool quote like that before. How'd you come up with that? Did you come up with that at the top of your head? I said, no, actually a friend of mine drew it for me. And it's funny because I've seen Deadpool drawn so many different ways, but the way he draws it is like how in my mind, if I was as good as Joey, how I would draw it if I knew how to fucking do that. But I don't because I'm not fucking good at that shit. But if I was good at it, that's exactly how I would see it. And I feel like that's why I connected so well with the hair art on it. So it was a cool little collabo. I was like, I still want to go back and do another one, man, to be honest. Maybe like a Wolverine or something.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So, Mike, you said when you posted it on social media, a lot of people, it got a lot of response. You were talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So let me ask you, Joey, does social media affect your work?
Yeah, I think an artist in the same type of work that I'm in, 10 years ago, I remember trying to be an artist 10 years ago, when I was 20 in my early 20s. And at that time, it was only DeviantArt was your only social media outlet for comic book art. And sorry, guys. And man, it was so hard to get, you can make connections, but everyone was there for the same reason. It was artists trying to sell artists work, and it didn't work. It's like, hey, you want my Batman? They're like, no, I could draw my own Batman. Oh, okay, thanks. I'll just go back to my my drawing board. So now we have a social media craze, and drawing Batman has an appeal to, out of the 10 people that follow me, every 10, only maybe 2 of them are artists. And then, or, let's say half of them are artists, but the other half are not, and the other half are just people like Michael that just appreciate what other people are doing in art. I've tried it through Facebook, but the same appeal doesn't apply to Instagram. I think Instagram is a visual media that you can just kind of scroll through the explore page and just be inspired by everything you see, and you see all kinds of different stuff. So I follow sculptors, painters, skateboarders, whatever it might be. I just have like an appeal to like anything that has a passion behind it. I love it. And it's there because social media presents that to you.
Yeah. So my next question for you, Joey, is besides who influences you, what do you think right now? What do you think the next trend in art is going to be for maybe your industry? What's the next big thing that's going to pop off?
For comic book styles, it's hard, man, because there's so many different appeals in the style of art that you do. If I took the most popular artist right now, in terms of style, to get him on a project and kind of who the circle that he influences, it would have to be an artist named Oliver Capel. And if you look at his work, it's amazing. Like you look at it and he takes everything so simplified. So you look at Jim Lee's era for the last 20 years, how everything was crosshatched, everything was dark shadows, super textured, all the details on the face. But now you have a trend that's going towards like a European style. So you see an artist that's amazing, and then you find out he's French, and you're like, no, they're taking it back. Like they're taking over again. So But you look at that art, and Oliver Capel is someone who has influenced the industry. That now there's like clones of that style. So that's where the trend is going to. And that's kind of like what you want to try to incorporate into your work. But I've always told people, when you're using references in art, your reference um, your references should inspire what you do, not require you to do something. So if you're looking at something and you're mimicking it, you're doing it wrong. There's no value that you brought to that. My brother told me a long time ago that a master is someone who introduces something new to everything that exists. So if you're just an artist that's doing what everybody else is doing, you're never going to hit that master level. You're going to just be someone that can replicate what everybody else has done. A master is someone that has introduced something new to something that already exists and has changed the form of what we do.
Cool. So would you say that's your advice for maybe young up and coming artists? Is that your advice for them?
Yeah. Just be inspired by what you see, but really try to think of what is it that's inspiring you to do that. So if you look at a certain artist's approach to stuff, I love Oliver Capel, but no matter how hard I try, I'm not clean like that. He's a very clean artist. And so what I try to do now is there's a focal point in my drawings where it's simplified and clean, with the remnants of Oliver Capel, but the parts that are dirty and like splatters and all the, the brush strokes and everything that I was telling you about, that's my signature to it. So that's what I'm introducing to it.
That's what's up. Yeah, I like your style. You come from like a dark place. I feel like when you draw, sometimes some of the stuff you do is very dark and sketchy, and I like that. I like that a lot about it. I feel like there's too much. It's too easy to be too fluffy. I feel like in cartoon world, I actually appreciate a very dark approach to it. I love the way you draw. But I had one more question. Besides advice giving, for a young up and coming artist, but how do you juggle your family life? Because we're dads. Dave's a dad. I'm a dad. You're a dad. How do you juggle a very stressful schedule, especially because I can relate to you on this? We talked a little bit about this last night over some Jameson shots. Um, Juggling family life with trying to also gain inspiration to create art you're passionate about, and juggle that with trying to create financial gain while being an artist, because artists have some of the toughest avenues as far as gaining money, managing time. Artists are not the best at organizing their time. We're not the best at thinking very, very simple, with simple approaches. We're very kind of seat of our pants kind of people sometimes. Mm-hmm. So how do you juggle all that family, finances, finding passion for your career?
I think step one is always your game plan. What I've always told people is that when you're not making money, draw something to make money. And so my buddy, he worked for Jim Lee at his studio when he was at Wildstorm. And Jim Lee had told him in a meeting, they were talking about financial stuff and how to sell their work and all that. And he says, you're in one of the only professions where you could literally print your own money. So drawing something in a sense turns into money. So draw something. We're sitting on our hands and we're trying to wait for opportunities or the right client or the right project, and we kind of just sit on what we're capable of doing. And so I think applying what you do best to what you do in a part of your life is going to help a lot. Juggling with family and even staying motivated, it's tough. There's art is, in a sense, it kind of refuels you. So you have your approach to, I'm going to produce something and hopefully it's inspiring enough to make me produce something again. So halfway through a drawing, you'll want to leave the drawing to start something else. And that always happens, but that's important. I think what we're going to be talking about later on is A Star is Born. And it's funny because art doesn't always inspire me to draw. Things that have passion are what inspire me to draw. When I saw A Star is Born, as soon as I went home, I was like, I'm going to draw, because like just seeing that passion for what you're doing and applying that to your life. That's what I want the rest of my life to be like.
Dave, I know you're sitting there like, yeah, I probably want to go play some music right now after watching that, because I know you're a musician like me too. You have
no idea. I mean, you do have an idea, but a different form of art, I guess, in a way.
Hey, music is art too, man. Like, it's one of those things. Like, I've known you for a long time too, Dave, and passion will bring out some craziness in you, and we're all artistic in some ways, and some of us are autistic like me, but that's beside the point. Uh, but no, but we're all artistic, and I feel like it's a struggle when you're very passionate about your craft.
Yeah.
I don't know, Dave. What did you think, man? Let's segue into that. What do you think, bro?
About the movie?
Yeah, what do you think, man? Like,
Dude,
give me
it
your
was-
overall opinion first, and we'll break it down from there.
Overall opinion, it was definitely, I think, one of the most inspiring movies I've seen in a very long time. It's because it was obviously we all knew Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga starred in it, but I didn't know at first that Bradley Cooper also directed it, and that kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
And I watched a little of the behind the scenes things of it too, and Bradley was talking about it, and he was just and like the whole cast was there too, obviously. And Lady Gaga even said at one point that there was a time when he was behind the camera directing, saying, "Oh, we need to get this shot, this shot, this shot," and the next thing you know, he hops in front of the camera to start acting too, and it was just like that, and he could flip it off, flip it on just in a switch and play that role. And he even said for the whole movie, he actually had to talk down an octave of what his normal voice is. That's why he had that deep voice, like every time he was talking and stuff, and he was actually talking down a whole octave than what his normal voice is. So I can't imagine going from directing, talking normal, then flipping a switch like that, and then boom, you're in acting mode. But I love how he really captured like the realness, I think, of the characters. Like it just seems so real, and like this kind of stuff would happen in real life, and it really made you fall in love with the characters. It really brought you in, and there was like Bradley Cooper said in the behind the scenes thing that he got this idea for the movie the one time when he was at a Metallica concert recently, and he was on stage behind the drummer Lars Ulrich, and he said just looking out into the crowd and that perspective, he wanted to make a movie like that, and it really did. You were on stage with them, you felt like that presence, and the performance and everything, and I could talk forever about this movie because it really was one of like the most inspiring movies I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, I feel it the same way. The thing that you said about it could be real life. These people could exist for real. This story may have been real life multiple times in our history. We don't know,
Yeah.
Not just in the celebrity sense where they were famous, which definitely played a role in that movie, I feel like, but also in the sense that this happens to couples all the time, and this is basically a common relationship theme in life, and I think it hit the nail on the head. That's why so many people are related to this movie. Bro, at the ending, I didn't know how to feel at the end, and I just was like, I guess it felt too real and too much like real life,
Right.
and that's why I was so like kind of lost for words.
Yeah, like it was I've just lost my train of thought. It was the way, like I said, they brought you into it, and you were really hoping that Cooper's character, Jackson is his name, that you were really hoping that Jackson was gonna pull through, because he was obviously addicted to alcohol and addicted to drugs and all that, and living that bad boy life, I guess, if you will. But you because they made you fall in love with the characters, you were really hoping that he was going to come out on the other side of this, which he did. He did. Technically, he went to rehab, he got clean, he was happy, all of this, and then all it took was her agent to come and say some stupid shit to him, and it made him fall back into that way. And then, spoiler alert, he he ended up killing himself.
It didn't happen.
He
lived.
Yeah, he lived. Oh,
Yeah,
He lived in our hearts.
yeah.
I fast forward through that part.
Oh, dude, and it's listen. I'm a sucker, and I definitely cried. I'm not gonna lie. I definitely had me go.
No, yeah, definitely did.
Oh man,
Joey, what did you think of the movie?
It was awesome, man. I think we've talked about it before. as an artist, and or kind of like the creative people like you with music, there's a quality that is there when you meet somebody that has the same type of drive as you. And so you look at Bradley Cooper's life and his career and where it was going, and it was fizzling out. It was at the last of his, it was like just sing the same songs, do the same performance. And he meets somebody that has this kind of like charismatic approach to her singing, and it just lights him up, and then that parking lot scene when they make up that song together, it's like, dude, that's exactly how it works, man.
That gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, I think there is an insanity to art, and I think he was going a little insane because of the monotony of it. And I think when you're a real true artist, you get tired of doing the same thing over and over again. When you get tired of doing the same thing over and over again, you don't feel like you're living. You'd rather not breathe and create art than breathe.
Right.
Like that's the thing about artists that love and thrive and live for what they do. They would not, they would rather die than to not produce something genuine. So getting up and doing the same couple songs over and over again feels more like hell than heaven,
And I think one of the most realist scenes in that whole movie was when she was in the bathtub and he came in there like, drunk and just completely started trash talking her. And like your mouth just dropped watching. You're like, holy crap, like this is about to blow up into something. And like it was like you felt awkward almost like being there. Like you felt like it was like, like you got your friend and or your friend and his parents arguing, and like you're the person in the middle and you just felt so awkward.
Yeah,
like being there, like I was like, oh my god, like what's gonna happen, like what but
Dude, there's so much psychology there, and I feel like what's crazy is I feel like she really understood him and she stuck with him because I feel like she knew what kind of torment he was going through,
right.
And she just had a maturity level he didn't have in some ways. And I think it's crazy because obviously at that moment he was projecting what he felt about himself on her. He was calling her those things because he felt like shit about himself,
right.
obviously. And the way he was raised was kind of jacked up. Obviously, they didn't go deep into that, but
yeah.
I mean,
there was obviously issues,
him,
right? Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
There was obviously issues between him and his dad.
And as dads, I'm sitting here looking at that movie as a dad going, I can't treat my son a certain way. I can't treat my daughter a certain way. I have to be very careful about the words I choose and the actions I take because, you affect your generations to come
Absolutely.
with that behavior. And yeah, you might produce a great artist, but you also create a tormented artist.
Yep.
And someone like that, obviously, having trouble handling it, turns to alcohol and drugs and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And can't bear it,
Yeah, and so like that brings me to my next point. I actually wanted to talk about was I guess just loving yourself, and like do we think Jackson loved himself? Because a lot of people say, how, at least I'm a firm believer in this one, is how can you make somebody else happy if you're not happy? How can you love someone else if you don't even love yourself? Like it starts with, you as a whole, as a person, and having to, be happy with yourself, love yourself. And then, you kind of push that on to other people too. And then, because you're happy, you're making them happy. And I don't think Jackson was ever happy with himself. And that's why he got into drugs, alcoholism. And then, it obviously made Lady Gaga's character, it obviously made her love him, but he was never truly happy. And that's why the story of it ended so dramatically.
From an artist perspective, I would say that he was only happy when he was producing new great material. And as an artist, that's how you measure yourself, because in the story, that's his daddy had the best voice he said he ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
And he was trying to live up to his daddy's dreams because his daddy was probably a dickhead. But, about artists is we're our happiest when we're producing something that's our best, when we're fully expressing ourselves.
Right. So,
so I don't think he was per se unhappy, but I don't think he could find happiness in the state that he was in. I don't think, his flaw was that he was relying on Lady Gaga to inspire him over and over again. But really, his flaw was that he couldn't fix his history. He couldn't fix his his problems from the past. But as an artist, I totally understand where he's coming from. I've had moments where I'm extremely stressed and frustrated because I feel like either I'm not appreciated or my work, I haven't been able to express myself in my work the way I want to. And Joey, I'm sure you can speak on this too. And sometimes you're just downright miserable, and you don't want to be the negative Nancy when you come home to the family. You don't want to be that guy. But when you're frustrated, the world seems dark and heavy. It does not seem fun at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for myself this last year, financially as an illustrator, it was my most successful year. But the last 6 months from June to from July to December, I was at a Comic-Con or a local show almost every single weekend.
Wow.
And for me, and drawing, almost all day from the time I woke up, took my lunch, whatever. But I would still draw till I went to sleep, and then still help, still spend time with my wife and my daughter and whatnot. And around December, man, like it felt like everything hit the fan. I was like, I had to still do a Spider-Man movie theater premiere for the Spider-Man movie, and so I was doing art for that, and also for Aquaman 2 weeks after. And I was gassed out. I was literally thinking, like, could I replicate this every year? Like, and I didn't feel like I could, because I was thinking, if up to right now, what I've drawn creatively has been almost nothing in the last 5 weeks, because I feel like that Spider-Man piece that I posted recently was pretty much the bottom of the barrel for me. And creatively, I was like, okay, so to get where I'm at today and the success that I had this year, I had to be gone or doing something almost every single weekend. Like I didn't have any downtime for myself. I didn't have very much time with my family and my daughter. And so I was feeling like I can't do this again. I can't do this all year and just hope for the same results, because it was successful. But what I do is also, like, what we do is also part luck. It's having the right opportunities at the right time hit. And if not all those things worked out again, was it going to be the same amount of work, but with a less successful outcome for the end of the year? And so I think, like what Mike's saying is, creatively, we kind of get like a little frustrated, and we get a little tied into what we're doing and tunnel vision. And I think at that moment, you got to realize, like, Bradley Cooper's character definitely went through tunnel vision, where his world got really small and confined. If I could be real for 1 minute.
No, this is all
okay. All right. So, me and my wife, we had a really hard time about 2 years ago, and man, just stuff was not firing between us, and we couldn't figure out a lot of the things that were going on. And so myself, it was, okay, so do we separate, or what's the next step? And I remember I spoke with the counselor, and we were talking, and I was telling him about, like, making my wife happy, right? And I was like, yeah, my wife's not happy. My wife's not happy. And I was trying to explain. I was trying to get an answer of, how do I make my wife happy, right? And he goes, why do you want to make her happy? And I was like, well, because she's my wife. And he's like, oh, why do you want to make her happy? And I was like, oh, well, because I love her. And he kept on asking me over and over. He's like, but why do you want to make her happy? I was like, I don't know, what do you mean? Like, tell me, how do I make her happy? And his thing was like, you're not responsible for her happiness. You're responsible for your happiness, and she's responsible for for her happiness. And if you guys find that, you guys can then make each other happy. And I think at that moment, he didn't have a happiness, and he was trying to get it from her, and it wasn't working. So he made her his world. And when that guy told him that thing, like, you're ruining everything.
Yeah.
It was like, that's my one source of joy. That is, I've been lying to myself about it. And so at that moment, his world got, like, so dark, man.
That's some deep shit.
Right?
I like that. Because you know what? That's relatable, because we all want to make our wives happy at the end of the day. But we have to remember that
It starts with you.
There's a difference between working on a relationship with somebody and trying to manufacture their happiness or joy or whatever. You can't change anyone. You can't, I think one of the things about loving yourself the most is that when you fully love yourself, and when you really take care of yourself in mental, spiritually, physically, we've talked about these things before, but I'm sure we'll talk more on this podcast about it, because I'm huge on that. But when you love yourself fully, it inspires people around you. And when your wife sees that, or your girlfriend or your friends see it, by nature, that inspiration influences them into a direction where they're going to take care of themselves and they're going to love themselves. So there's no, in life, what I've learned is that there's no direct way to change you or anyone. It's always got to be from a genuine place. It's always got to be from a place of taking care of yourself first and then others around you. It's the same in business, bro. You know, I'm going to be opening my own barbershop soon, and I'll have my own company soon. And the thing I've been reading about leadership books is that a great leader always takes care of himself first, so that when it's time, he can influence and take care of others. He can help them manufacture their own happiness. You know, they create their own happiness, but you create a path for them. You create a way for them instead of trying to manipulate someone's happiness. Every relationship is going to have trouble if you're trying to make someone happy. My biggest struggle as a man, and here's my confession, is that around Valentine's and around birthdays, I get so stressed trying to get my wife a gift because I want it to be so fucking perfect, Yeah. And I never feel like it's enough because I want to make her so happy. Like I want her to just be like, wow, you're the best dude in the whole damn world. But she married me. I already know that. Like she married me. So I don't know why I'm stressing so hard about a damn gift, because I just want to make her happy. And I know that in turn is stressing me the hell out.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
No, that was well put. So I have to ask, Joey, how is life now?
Man, I'm not in the clear yet. There's still stuff that we're trying to like flush out.
Sure.
Overall, I would say, it's working. We're on in April, it'll be 18 years that we've been together. She was 14 and I was 15 at the time.
Wow.
And so it's been a journey. We've been through hard spots multiple times.
Like every relationship.
The longest we've ever been separated was 1 week. That's the longest we've ever broken up. And that was I had just left high school and she was still in high school, and I was like, I'm not gonna date a high schooler. No, I'm just kidding. But we had broken up for other reasons. But that was the longest we've been separated from each other, and not even separated. I mean, we still saw each other during that week a bit. But
sure.
So it's been that type of thing. And so I always tell people, when I'm giving advice to people in their relationships, is every marriage is going to go through the hurdles. Mm-hmm. It just depends on what hurdle you let define your marriage. Right. Yep. And so it could end today, but then I'm going to start the same path with somebody else, and I'm going to get through the same obstacle eventually. And you look at people that are on their third and fourth marriage, and it hits a wall at 6 years or 5 years and whatnot. It's the same hang up that they didn't want to fix for the last marriage that they bring into their next one. Something that I read going for depression, and the part with Bradley Cooper is suicide doesn't take away the pain. It passes it along to somebody else. And when I read that, I was like, damn, that's so deep, because we think like his way out gave it to her. Like his pain and what he was going through, ending it for himself, it just passed it along to somebody else to live with it and to bear with that. And so I think of that, like in terms of a marriage, still is that hurdle too high that you can't cross it, and you're just willing to kind of just, I'll face it in the next one, because like, oh, I don't like to put the toilet seat down, and so the next wife, she better like get up, And so I remember one time my wife was pregnant. When my wife was pregnant, but she was arguing with me. I don't know if you've ever been around a pregnant wife, and it gets scary sometimes, and it's a dark place like Bradley Cooper's life. She was getting mad at me about, she was getting mad at me about the toilet seat being up. And, dude, she was just like super pissed about it, and it's just one of those pregnant woman times.
They are hormonal.
I'm sorry, I'm toxic masculinity right now, but I remember I was yelling back at her. Like, I was like, I want the toilet seat up. Every time you're done, pick up the seat. And like, that's what I was telling her, dude. And so like that's the kind of crap we've been dealing with. But I remember that was my argument. I was like, no, from now on, I want the toilet seat up when you're done. And it was just a stupid thing, but I was trying to convey how stupid it was from her.
Sure.
But at that point, you just have to bite the bullet and be like, okay, yeah, like,
okay, honey, yeah. Totally so. Sweet.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess my take home of this whole thing would be, love yourself first, all the way, all the way. Don't quit on that, and never stop working on yourself.
Yep.
The more you work on yourself and explore those areas, the better it's going to be. I think for artists, it's imperative that because we think too much, but we have to simplify our approach to loving ourselves and not try to be overcomplicated and looking at every single flaw we have, or how come we're not this far in our career yet, or how come we didn't make this much money yet, or whatever. Because personally speaking, I mean, I want to be able to pick up my family and just go to a fucking island when I want to. That's honestly my desire. Like that's one of my goals in life. But I also can't let that determine my happiness, and I can't let that determine like who I am as a man or who I am as a person. We're all on a journey. We're all on this path, and of course, like you said, you're going to have your bumps, you're going to have your bruises. But for all you young guys out there, man, even before you guys get married, before you even meet a girl, work on yourself, bro. Like work on yourself. Chase your dream. And don't try to make someone happy or compromise a dream just because you want to make someone else happy. Don't pass that along to someone else. Your happiness is yours. And in turn, the right woman will be super fucking inspired by a badass dude who's chasing his dream, who's confident, who's doing his thing, who's a great stand-up dude.
And who would love you for you. That's
absolutely.
That's what it comes down to. So
Can I share one more thing?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
I know it's not my podcast, and I'm sorry. So
no, that's all right, bro. You're here.
No, I'm joking. I was talking to my sister-in-law, and she was asking me about some advice in her relationship. And this goes back to reading something, which was, if you're walking through a forest, right, or you're walking through kind of like a meadow, and you find a beautiful flower, and you're like, man, look how bright it is, and the way it's blooming, the way the sun hits it, just everything about this flower. You kind of like love it for the way it looks, right? You pick that flower and you take it with you, and little by little that flower stops becoming what it is, right? It's not blooming as much. It looks like it's wilting. It doesn't have the same sunlight. The lighting's not the same at your house. And I relate that to a relationship, which is we like somebody and we like the environment that they were in, the way that they are, the culture that they have, right? And then we want to pluck them from that, and we want to take away those things that make it beautiful. And we forget that the sunlight is what made it, so bright, that the ground that was in, the soil that it was coming from is what made it bloom so much. And in a relationship, we have to make sure that we're being conscious of the things that made that thing beautiful. Are we still letting those things be a part of its life? And pulling those things or pulling those people from that environment, then we get a product that we no longer like. It's like, oh, it's stale, or this is not the same as it used to be, but it's because we've changed what made it beautiful.
All right, so that'll put a bow on top of that topic and the movie A Star Is Born. But anyways,
I've never met Bo. He seems like a nice guy.
Next up, we're going to be talking about some cultural beliefs. It could be the groundhog and the lie detector tests. And it's funny because Mike and I both put on our personal Facebooks a poll on who believes what. And I find it very interesting, actually, because I had quite a few people basically agree or disagree with, if you believe the groundhog or not when it comes to seeing his shadow, and if spring's going to be longer or shorter. If winter's going to be longer or shorter, if we're going to have an early spring or not. And Mike put up the lie detector test, and his was almost 100% to none that many people believe that it's not true. And
yeah, I had one guy go, no, it works.
Which cracked me up.
And his proof was, I took one.
Maybe he sweats a lot.
Super scientific fucking outcome. But go ahead. Let's talk about the groundhog for a minute, because I never believed in that shit. I never researched anything about it.
Right.
I never believed it.
Right. I don't believe in it really, but because it's silly in a way. But I'm gonna start with this. So through Wikipedia, I don't know if this is totally relevant, but
to Wikipedia.
But it goes back to hold on, where the heck did it go? I'm sorry, I lost it. Where'd it go? Yeah, it derives from the Pennsylvania Dutch superstition that if a groundhog, woodchuck, whatever it is, emerging from its burrow on this day sees its shadow, due to clear weather, it will retreat to its den and winter will persist for 6 more weeks. And if it does not see its shadow, then spring is going to be coming early. So
spring.
So yeah,
will not
so
sprung as
so it
often.
says see its shadow due to clear weather. So it depends on the day, right? If it's cloudy out, he ain't gonna see his shadow.
Of course.
So how do people put their trust in a freaking groundhog? Depending on the cloudy day or not. If it's sunny, he sees his shadow. Oh, great. Yeah. If it's not, it's just.
I feel like I'm gonna go on a rant here.
Yeah, I know. Like I'm about to. Notice my voice is getting higher because I'm starting to get it.
You started off and now you sound like Gary B. Like, I'm up here, like we gotta do it.
So, anyways, I put the post up. All right. 67% said no, that's silly. 33% said yes. I had a friend of mine comment. He says, I believe animals are more intuitive than humans.
And that's proof. Intuitive means what?
He believes animals are smarter than humans, I believe. Maybe that's what he was going for.
Is that what intuitive means? I don't think so. I mean, I'm not a vocabulary, scholar. I'm not like college educated, Joey, but I'm pretty sure intuitive does not mean like knows the calendar.
Right. And
is
then
this Groundhog Man or what? What the fuck is going on? Like,
It's a tradition that's just become
silly.
our scientific fact.
Right.
Yeah, something that we put out as a label of this is as
Right,
true as it-
like why even waste your time? Oh, it's a cloudy day. We know what's going to happen. He's not going to see shadow.
Yeah.
Why do we got to go through it?
Yeah.
And people get all dressed up. They think it's a huge deal to the Dutch or yeah.
Well, one year they have to do it under a canopy and see if they get the same result. Like if he just keeps on going back in.
Come out, little fella. Like oh, Mike, where do you want to go?
there's so many things that we do in culture that make no fucking sense at all. Like the shit that we do, if you really sit back and look at everything we do, there's some dumb shit we do that we believe. Like for instance, we were talking about the lie detector, and I did the poll on Facebook, and only one dude obviously was like, I tried it, it works. And I mean, maybe it did work for him in that scenario, that case per se. If you lie and you tend to sweat when you lie, then maybe it worked for you, right? That's a small percentage that it worked.
Or your heartbeat was racing
faster.
faster, or if your heartbeat was racing faster and it picks up your pulse or whatever, and it's like this guy really is lying because it's pulsing, But I don't know.
Yeah, but like, okay, so it works for like 1 or 2 cases here and there, right? But for the most part, people that I know that work in customs, people that I know who have taken, the polygraph, basically what I've learned is that all it really detects is sweat from your palms or something, your heartbeat, your heart rhythm, and things of that nature. So like, there's no actual lie detector. There's no fairy that hops out and is like, liar. Like, we caught you. This is it. There's no black and white like lie. So if I'm testing Dave and I ask Dave the same question 15 times in different ways, eventually he's gonna get pretty fucking irritated with my questions, and eventually he's gonna start sweating. His heartbeat's gonna go up. His blood pressure's gonna go up.
Yeah, blood pressure.
He's like, get me out of this fucking room. Why are you interrogating me? I didn't do shit. Right.
The problem is that the lie detector's conclusion of how they determine if it's a lie or not is just that there's deception present. That's it.
Right.
If they just like, well, he could be lying, so then that's what they take it as a lie.
Yeah, or he could be he could just really need to take a shit and he wants to get out of the room, but like it's a professional setting. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what he should ask.
My leg shakes all the time. Like right now.
Yeah, you're shaking now.
It's shaking. Right.
I'm the same way. It's just
I've been lying the last 30 minutes to you guys.
Whatever.
So, anyways,
you're not lying. You're sitting.
We just find that stuff silly. Yeah. But yeah, we just find that stuff silly. So that's just like
I was actually watching Adam Ruins Everything on Netflix. It's a true TV show, and he was saying that we believe in a lot of weird shit. Like, we believe that cars are the best way of transportation, when in fact, back in 1913 or whatever, we didn't have many cars at all. It was all about trolleys, and we only used cars to get from like state to state or like major cities to major cities. But the reality is, if you live inside of a city, you should be taking a trolley everywhere because technically you actually save time and energy and money instead of purchasing a vehicle and all this blah, blah, blah. But what happened is people started wanting to own their own shit. And when they started to own their own shit, started making more and more roads. More and more roads equals more and more traffic. So the reason why you're sitting at the fucking red light and the other red light and the other red light is because we keep on thinking that we need to own all of our shit. So, I mean, we do a lot of weird shit that we think makes sense when in reality it's a more efficient or more logical way to go about it. I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head like that. I don't know if you can.
Well, you know, every time I travel, I used to rent a car, and I found that renting a car, I was paying for the car, paying for parking everywhere. Then I still had to pay for the gas. And I was like, dude, this is forking over a lot of money. It costs me more money to stay in my car than it would in the hotel that I'm at.
Absolutely.
Right? So now when we go, or as I started doing more Comic Cons, I'm in a new city. I take just the Uber and I will bus the stops because usually from the convention center I can get to wherever I need to be. Literally, I go to Phoenix, for example, and they have an amazing public transportation system there. And their culture of what they have for their downtown is that you hop on and off that train. So it's $2 and it literally cuts every corner, turn everywhere, every part of downtown, and you can get anywhere you need to be just through that train. And so, or I'm sorry, through that bus. And it's a trolley, I guess. But I'll take an Uber from the airport to the show or to my hotel, and then take whatever bus, and then pretty much you could just walk anywhere. Like a mile is nothing, but the mile the convenience store is less than a mile from my house, and I still take my car. So like I go out of town and I'm like, a mile's nothing. I'll look it up on Google
when you're
Maps.
in town, driving your car.
Yeah. And then I complain about the road.
Yeah. Like, why am I here at the stop sign, or the stoplight? That's crazy, man. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess today was a good positive podcast, but I feel like we covered some heavy stuff today.
Yeah.
I feel like,
speaking of heavy, there's going to be some heavy weights on some people's shoulders this evening. I'm talking about the Super Bowl. It's a very timid, Tom Brady, and I don't even.
Guys, bet on the Patriots. I'm telling you, they're not going to lose 2 Super Bowls in a row.
You don't think so?
They have the. Listen.
I'm always rooting against Tom Brady. I'm just saying.
Listen, don't do it. I'll bet you right now. Look, here's the thing. Over 67% of the time, the team with the worst record during the regular season almost always wins the Super Bowl. And the Patriots have a lesser record than the Rams.
Okay. That's a good fact. And it's Tom Brady.
So I'm putting my money on the Patriots.
But so you have the Patriots tonight to win?
Yep. Joey, who do you have?
Dude, Tom Brady's my man crush. It's not my team. But
it's a man crush.
Tom Brady.
We understand.
Right? I already know he's not faithful. He's a cheater. But that's okay because he's so hot. But I'm still going to go with Tom Brady and put my money on that one.
All right, well, I know I'm going to say the Patriots are probably going to win, but I don't want them to, so I'm going to leave it at that.
I know, man.
But anyways.
Hold on. I need to interrupt. Make a mental note, Dave, for episode 8.
Yes.
Man crush. Man crush. Yes, we're gonna. Us men are gonna talk about our man crushes.
Man rockets.
Top 3 man rockets.
That's hockey talk for you. But
they know them as man crushes or man rockets.
I got many. I don't know if that's good or bad or not.
Man candy.
Anyways, Joey, real quick, thank you for joining us today on this episode, man. That was awesome. Some inspiring stuff. And where can people follow you? Where can people find you?
So everything's under my name. Everything. So, Plenty of Fish, Christian Mingle, Farmers Wives, everything is going to be under Joey Lee Cabral. So it's JoeyLeeCabral. You could just .com that, and that .com will take you to all my social media links.
Cool. Yeah, guys, definitely go check out his artwork. It's pretty awesome. I was just looking at the Joker one you posted a few days ago. Sick.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
Sick, dude.
Make sure you go support him, man. He's an awesome artist. He's a family man, just like us. please go ahead and follow him, support him, and support us on our podcast. That's TTCL Pod.
Yeah.
And that is on Instagram. That is on Twitter. And I think we're on Facebook, correct?
Yes, we are on Facebook, facebook.com/TTCL Pod. You can find our page there. Go give us a like. Keep up to date with what we're doing and when episodes going to be coming out. And maybe we'll, we got to start giving some behind the scenes look of our recording process and all that. Give
Hell yeah.
listeners an insight.
And also, please give me a follow if you're not already. That is on Instagram. That is at m.r.k.thebarber. m.r.k.thebarber.
All right. And that'll do it, guys. And thank you again, Joey, for joining us. Mike, I'll catch you next week, bro.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Bye, guys.